Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Thursday, September 17. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amitha Sharma in for Maya Trabulsi. County supervisors are meeting behind closed doors right now. The issues: rising COVID cases, keeping businesses open, and a possible legal fight. Moments ago, local health officials released updated numbers showing 6 more deaths and 174 new cases. All crucial as the county faces the possibility of moving into a new state tier, and that could have devastating impacts. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman is live outside the county administration building with more. Matt?
Amitha, supervisors are meeting right now in closed session here inside the county administration building, basically deciding whether or not they should legally challenge the state's refusal to not accept San Diego state cases. They want to eliminate those cases from their county totals. The county says if that doesn't happen, then by next week, we will be seeing more coronavirus restrictions.
It'll hurt. It'll hurt. We've seen an influx ever since we reopened, and it's been great. You know, football season's here, sports are, doing great. The Padres are doing great.
Businesses say in the short time they've been allowed to reopen indoor operations, customers have been responding positively.
A lot of people love going out. A lot of people are tired of being cooped up at home, and we've done our fair share and our job of keeping people healthy and safe. We disinfect. Our employees are knowledgeable. They wash their hands. We do what we have to do to stay open.
San Diego County is currently in the state's red tier, where many businesses can be open indoors at a limited capacity, versus what we're heading toward next week in the purple tier. For many, sliding backwards and having to close inside for a third time would be tough, especially for those like this salon and spa, which is classified as a personal care business. The owner tells me she can't work outside and during the pandemic has had to close for more than 4 months. If we hit the purple tier, she says she'll be forced to close again.
Many of our other counties are watching us very, very closely. They are also at their wits' end in terms of a kind of a tipping point of where do we start to break from the governor.
This could be the tipping point. The county says if it weren't for more than 700 cases among SDSU students, we would not be facing more restrictions. And they're asking the state to discount those cases. But already twice, the state has said they aren't budging.
So the answer is no.
We believe we have done everything to protect the public, and that the general public and businesses are in no way, shape, or form at risk or responsible.
The state's refusal to move could draw legal action from the county. We know where the supervisors stand on the issue of eliminating SDSU's cases.
They're a community in and of themselves, and I think there's a really good argument to be made to exempt the numbers coming out of San Diego State University. And
it is a kind of an isolated population.
We should consider the SDSU cases as a unique circumstance.
And I agree that the San Diego State students should not, they should be pulled out of the our numbers.
I don't think the San Diego State cases should be included.
But today, Fletcher issued a statement saying we are in a battle against coronavirus, not the state, and respects their no decision. The question now is, will supervisors take the step of legal action to keep businesses like gyms, restaurants, and churches from having to stop indoor operations?
The constant back and forth, open, close, open, close, open, close, is very detrimental to the human psyche and to public trust.
Yeah, so still a lot of unanswered questions tonight in regards to San Diego County's future with coronavirus. So tonight the board could decide to sue the state. Now, if they don't decide, there is another special board meeting next Tuesday, this one in an open setting. And if they don't decide to take any legal action tonight, there could be a closed session next Tuesday where they decide to take legal action. Here downtown, Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Thank you, Matt. New numbers show 226,000 San Diegans are out of work. That's an unemployment rate of 13.3%. Nationwide, 860,000 people filed for unemployment for the first time last week. That's about 33,000 fewer claims than the week before. Mexico is proposing an extension of COVID-19 related border restrictions for another month. Non-essential travel through the border with the U.S. would be limited until October 21st. The restrictions have been in place since March 21st. Canada's land border to the U.S. will reportedly remain closed until November. Misinformation and outright lies have been swirling around Senate Bill 145, which Governor Gavin Newsom signed into law last week. KPBS reporter Andrew Bowen says that disinformation has seeped into the race for San Diego mayor.
SB 145 deals with statutory rape and California's sex offender registry. Current law treats people convicted of sex with a minor differently, depending on the sexual act and whether the perpetrator is gay or straight. In cases of heterosexual intercourse, a judge can decide whether to place that perpetrator on the sex offender registry. Judges don't have that discretion in cases of same-sex sexual activity. SB 145 changes that, allowing judges to decide whether registration is warranted, regardless of the sex act or the gender of the two people involved. The bill was supported by California's police chiefs and district attorneys, but the community of far-right conspiracy theorists called QAnon started spreading the lie that the bill legalized pedophilia. This week, both Mayor Kevin Faulconer and City Council member Barbara Bree, who's running to succeed Faulconer, repeated a falsehood that is similar but not identical to the QAnon conspiracy theory. Here they are speaking on KUSI.
To say under any circumstances that you could have a 24-year-old adult with a 14-year-old and call that consensual, that's just crazy. That defies logic.
Listen, I'm a mom, and there's no case in which there is consensual sex between a 14-year-old and a 24-year-old, whether it's a girl, a boy, gay sex, straight sex. It is not consensual.
Here's what's false and misleading about those statements. SB 145 makes absolutely no changes to California's age of consent. It's still illegal for a 24-year-old to have sex with a 14-year-old. It's also still illegal for an 18-year-old to have sex with a 17-year-old. But if that 18-year-old and 17-year-old are both gay males, right now a judge would have no choice but to place the 18-year-old on the same sex offender registry as a child rapist. Under SB 145, the judge can still punish the 18-year-old with jail times and fines. But the judge can also look at the circumstances and decide whether that person deserves to be placed on the sex offender registry. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
When a wildfire threatens your home, your first thought is grabbing what you can and getting to safety. But getting to safety is complicated these days by COVID-19. KPBS reporter John Carroll says the recent valley fires shows how the Red Cross has changed the way they help people during the pandemic.
When fire threatens life and property, decisions must be made in seconds. People know they have to get away from the danger fast, and for many, that means going to an evacuation center run by the Red Cross.
We stood up a temporary evacuation point, multiple temporary evacuation points where people could come to.
Evacuation points that pre-pandemic were also temporary shelters. Think lots of cots filling school gyms. But because of the virus, that's not possible. Instead, evacuation points like Steel Canyon High School served during the Valley Fire as information centers, a place to get sheltering options, which meant arranging hotel rooms for evacuees.
We put up 174 families, 440 people in hotels for multiple nights. And then we fed them 3 meals a day in their hotel room.
Mahoney says the Red Cross also got critical help from the San Diego Humane Society that provided the Bonita Animal Facility to shelter evacuees' animals, everything from birds to horses. Situations like that are part of the Humane Society's mission. Same thing for schools turning over their gyms to the Red Cross. But hotels are not nonprofit organizations, so in addition to all the extra logistical work of getting people into rooms, there's also a significant cost.
We try to negotiate the best rate that we could at those 11 different hotels. We are going to do our best to try and get some kind of reimbursement for that. But in the meantime, we have paid for those hotel bills.
Add to that thousands of meals and snacks and drinks, and the Red Cross is looking at thousands of dollars in expenses just for the Valley Fire. Even now, days after the last flames were snuffed out, the expenses continue to add up. 13 people are still in 6 hotel rooms, and volunteers are still helping them. Volunteers that Sean Mahoney wanted to thank.
They normally work 12-hour shifts, 7 till 7 or 7 at night till 7 in the morning. And these are people who dropped what they were doing on Labor Day weekend.
The kind of selfless giving that gives life to the Red Cross mission, always there in times of need. John Carroll, KPBS News.
The Poway Unified School District is planning to begin in-person instruction next month. 10 elementary schools will reopen on October 1st, followed by another 16 on October 12th. The district says families can choose to stick with virtual learning. Secondary schools, except for Abraxas High School, will remain virtual through at least November. All students will be required to wear masks at school. Lawmakers across California are pushing Governor Newsom to reopen playgrounds. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayers says playgrounds are not part of any phased reopening plans yet, but that may soon change.
Last week, KPBS took a look at why California playgrounds are still closed indefinitely due to COVID-19 restrictions, even though restaurants, museums, and the zoo are open. Since then, Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez has written 2 separate letters asking Governor Gavin Newsom for state guidance on the reopening of outdoor playgrounds and state park amenities.
Very little attention given to some of the basics that we're really struggling with as parents, and that's things to do with our children. Playgrounds are essential for both the physical and mental health of young kids, and we should be able to figure out how to safely open them.
Gonzalez sent her first letter Friday, the day our story first aired. The second letter went out yesterday and included signatures from 23 other lawmakers from both parties.
We're not saying necessarily open up every playground. We're saying what is the protocol necessary and when can we look forward to this? It just doesn't seem like there's any guidance, and so that doesn't seem an acceptable way to move forward.
So far, there's been no response from the governor's office. Gonzalez and the other lawmakers plan to follow up in another week. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
Oceanside's major water reclamation project is getting a financial injection from the Environmental Protection Agency. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
The EPA is loaning Oceanside nearly $70 million to help finance that city's water reuse plans. The city currently imports most of its water from the Sacramento Bay Delta and the Colorado River. The federal loan for the $158 million project will ultimately help Oceanside generate 3 to 5 million gallons of drinking water a day.
We will be reusing the recycled water that we would normally discharge to the ocean, put it through an extensive and high-quality treatment process, and then be able to distribute it to the city as a local source of drinking water.
City officials say the treated wastewater will be pumped into an underground aquifer, and the water will be treated again when it's drawn out. They hope the project helps Oceanside realize a long-term goal of having half of the city's drinking water come from local sources. EPA officials back the plan because they say it helps address a number of local issues.
So you have groundwater recharge, you have saltwater intrusion barrier protection. You're looking at reducing discharges to the ocean, obviously one of the great drivers of the economy of Southern California. You also are going to distribute some of that water out for use for irrigation, in agriculture and commercial uses, and out to the residential.
And this facility is poised to become the first of its kind in San Diego County and possibly California when it opens for business in 2023. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
At least one person is dead and another person is missing in Alabama after Hurricane Sally blew ashore along the Gulf Coast and Florida's Panhandle. Now there are more flood warnings as the storm pushes into Georgia, the Carolinas, and Virginia. More than 440,000 people in Alabama and Florida are still without power. In Florida, hundreds were rescued with aid from 500 Florida National Guard soldiers. And a 3-night curfew is in effect in Escambia County.
We had 30 inches of rain in Pensacola, 30 plus inches of rain, which at 4 months of rain in 4 hours at some point. So it is very bad, severe.
And Florida's governor is warning any body of water in Northwest Florida could see a rise in levels over the next few days. Sally also dumped large amounts of rain in parts of Georgia and the Carolinas today. The potential for rain in the forecast is of special concern for those who live near the Valley Fire. That's why the county is giving out supplies for sandbags. People can stop by the county building on Tavern Road in Alpine to pick up bags and other items. A man who lives in Hamul says his house survived, but his neighbors were not so lucky.
I burned down 3 of my neighbors' houses. And then looking at look at my window and see them now, so it's kind of sad. But mine's still standing, so we're lucky, we're blessed.
Fire zones pose a risk for flooding because the scorched earth simply cannot absorb the soil as well. The distribution site in Alpine is open until 4 p.m. daily through Saturday and 2 p.m. Sunday. As for any rain in our future, Marvin Gomez has your forecast.
Hope you're having an excellent Thursday, and thanks for staying with us here at KPBS News. I'm AccuWeather's Marvin Gomez, and here are your weather headlines for today. We are going to start the cooling trend as we head into the weekend, and we are going to be dealing with some stronger winds as well, especially across the mountains and in the deserts. And we are going to be dealing with more low clouds as well, and some fog, the marine layer increasing as well as we head into the weekend. And let's take a quick look at what we're anticipating as we transition into tonight here across San Diego County. Looking at Escondido, you're going to be dropping to 61 degrees over towards Oceanside. A little bit cooler, mid-50s for you. And Borrego Springs at 77 degrees for your low temperature. As we transition into Friday, well, there will be noticeable changes, especially on the northern half of California for us here across the southern part of the state. Not a lot of changes for us other than, again, slightly cooler temperatures compared to what we had for this Thursday. Let's take a quick look at what's happening, or what happened, I should say, earlier today. Looking at our satellite and radar image, you could see some of the changes with those slightly cooler temperatures across the region is because we do have an area of low pressure way to the north, and that's going to help drive some of that onshore flow across central and into Southern California as well. As we take a quick look at your forecast for Friday, Borrego Springs, mostly sunny skies, 108 for your afternoon, 85 closer towards the coastline, and into the weekend, very warm across the central and southwestern portion of the nation. Here's a quick look at your extended forecast along the coast. Again, notice that gradual drop in temperatures into the mid-70s for Monday of next week. We are going to stay dry, but again, along the coast, we are going to have that thickening marine layer as we transition into the weekend. Friday, 97 in inland areas and 92 into your Saturday, so significantly cooler for you. And as we transition into the higher terrain, keep in mind, here's where we are going to have some very breezy conditions during the afternoon and evenings, Friday all the way through Sunday. And across the deserts, well, temperatures will continue out there into the triple digits.
As more college students stay home during the pandemic, rent prices in neighborhoods near universities have dropped. According to Zillow, in the zip code near UC San Diego, rents were up nearly 5% in February. Now they're falling by about that much, down $84 a month. Other data shows 44% of U.S. universities are mostly offering classes online this fall. 2 million more college-age Americans were living with their parents in August compared to last year. San Diego State students who feel shortchanged by the pandemic are petitioning to be partially reimbursed for tuition and other campus fees. SDSU senior Kelsey Santine created the petition on change.org on Monday. So far, it's received over 3,000 signatures. It asks for tuition and fee refunds for campus services that aren't accessible right now.
The library, the gyms, the student union, access to all of those things, computer rooms. What we don't understand is if the product changed, why wouldn't the price change?
Our media partner 10 News reached out to SDSU for comment and was referred to the CSU system. A spokesperson said the money for tuition covers instruction, which students are still receiving online. Services like health centers and advising are still available virtually. The Padres will play some unexpected games in San Diego due to the smoky skies to our north. Today, the Padres and Mariners announced a 3-game series will be moved from Seattle to Petco Park. The Northwest has had especially bad air quality this week due to fires burning in the area. The Mariners also relocated a series of games to San Francisco for the same reason. This year's San Diego Latino Film Festival was set to launch on March 12th, but that was also the day California placed a ban on public gatherings of more than 250 people because of COVID-19. So the festival had to cancel on its opening day. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando says the festival returns online starting today.
Today, the 27th annual San Diego Latino Film Festival is ready for its second launch, this time online.
It's been incredible. Flexibility is definitely the key. Flexibility, innovation.
Innovation to recreate the festival environment in a virtual format.
We have, again, over 140 movies, different filmmakers, actors that have made these wonderful films. It's about engaging them with local audiences. And so I'm really most excited about the live Q&A and virtual Q&A experience, because to me, that's been the most exciting thing to learn about these past few months, is engaging people online. Because people still need that connection. Yeah, we want to be in person, but for now it can be virtual, and it's still really powerful.
The delay in holding the festival, along with the move online, meant losing about a third of the films originally programmed. Most of those were bigger titles with more recognizable talent, says exhibitions manager Moises Esparza.
The loss of those films has definitely given some of our smaller films to kind of take the spotlight, which is really exciting and I think speaks authentically to what a festival should be about, highlighting emergent filmmakers who may not have distribution strategies in place, or distribution for that matter, and they're really relying on festivals as sort of their lifeline.
The festival's executive director, Ethan Bontillo, agrees.
Those are films that we should, as local San Diegans, be supporting and try to get these more Latino voices in front of the screens and more directors behind the camera. So it's important that we support these independent and maybe smaller films that we're screening at this upcoming festival.
Programming is divided into showcases by tags, such as Frontera for local filmmakers, Somos for LGBTQ, and Un Mundo Extraño for horror.
So I encourage people to pay attention to those tags, because those are kind of our way of nudging people in the direction of interesting themes and topics that we think would appeal to them.
There's something for everyone, but what's most exciting is that there are films that push people out of their comfort zones, thanks to the daring programming.
Yeah, so we are definitely envelope pushers. At least I try to be with some of my programming selections. I hope to push individuals to explore new sensibilities, different modalities. It's kind of like broaden their spectrum of what they perceive to be a good or acceptable film. One of those films that I think is boundary pushing is called Divine Love. It places religion in the context of the not so far into the future Brazil, and how religious overzealousy in a way has taken over society and controlled every aspect of the way of life.
Each year, unexpected themes arise, and this year there were reoccurring visual motifs of unrest and revolution.
And we see it in Pablo Larraín's Emma from Chile, where his protagonist essentially carries around a flame torch and lights things on fire in her city. And it's meant to be not only destructive, but cathartic.
That unrest can also be comic.
I really love Pecado Original. It strikes me almost as a comedy of manners that, just aren't maybe made that frequently. It has a slight screwball edge, which I definitely appreciate. But when you're watching it, it really does maybe push at the boundaries of what a romantic comedy is.
Whether in person or online, the San Diego Latino Film Festival celebrates art and diversity.
let's get together and talk about these movies, talk about the issues in the movies, celebrate and support these filmmakers. Because remember, it's important to support independent artists and filmmakers during this time of crisis.
Buying a ticket is an easy way to show support for the festival and to encourage artists to continue their work during this pandemic. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Here's a recap of our top stories. San Diego businesses are preparing for the possibility they may have to close next week if the county slips into the state's most restrictive purple tier. County supervisors are meeting right now behind closed doors to come up with a plan. Today, 6 more deaths from COVID-19 and 174 new cases were reported. Getting to safety when a wildfire starts is complicated these days because of COVID-19. Because of the virus, evacuation centers have become more like information centers to arrange hotel rooms for evacuees. Red Cross volunteers stepped up during the Valley Fire to put 440 people in hotels for multiple nights and also provide meals for them. And local Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez has written 2 letters asking the governor for guidance on the reopening of outdoor playgrounds and state park amenities. The second letter included signatures from 23 other lawmakers. So far, there's been no response from the governor's office. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us and have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.